Jim Crow 2.0. Voter suppression laws are being introduced in Pennsylvania and around the country. On June 16th, the Philadelphia Inquirer had an article detailing measures that Republicans in the state legislature have introduced to suppress the votes of Pennsylvanians. Republicans dubbed the bill House Bill 1300, the Voting Rights Protection Act. These measures include, but are not limited to, requiring every voter to present ID at the polls, establishing a Bureau of Election Audits to audit elections in Pennsylvania like they're doing now in Arizona, require signature verification for mail-in ballots, shorten the voter registration deadline, and less time to request a mail-in ballot. At a recent rally entitled Criminal Justice Reborn, I interviewed community activist and former state representative Movita Johnson-Harrell, community activist Reverend John Bergen, and the district attorney of the city of Philadelphia, Larry Krasner. Here's what they had to say regarding this attempt to enact voter suppression laws into the Pennsylvania legislature.
They are wasting taxpayers' money, they are wasting taxpayers' time, they are wasting their time with creating these bills to exclude people from access. We know that most of this legislation comes from the right and it comes from the Republican Party, and that is all an attempt, a direct attempt to exclude people of color. We need to make sure that everyone has access to the ballot. We need to make sure that everyone has access and that their votes are being heard. We have too many people that have marched and rallied and died for our right to vote to begin to be able to exclude people now.
That the party that wants to hold on to the power of white people and the power of rich people wants to further restrict voting and make it harder for people, especially people of color in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and other places, to vote, and that they want to actually undermine democracy because that's what they've been doing since the founding of this country. I think the fact that our legislators want to make it harder for many people to vote shows that they're afraid of us, and it shows that they're actually afraid of everyday people exercising power in our democracy and exercising power in our society. And we need to be exercising that power more and more, not just as individuals, but as communities, as collectives of people. And that's how we actually make change in the society, is by speaking as groups and as communities and actually demanding what we want and the change that we need in order to live healthy lives, to live safe lives, and to be able to live where we want to live.
It's voter suppression. It's very simple. We have a country that is going more and more democratic, that is going more and more liberal and progressive, that believes in criminal justice reform, and the people who have the power aren't that. So they're going to try to hang on to that power by making sure that most of us can't vote.
When I asked the district attorney if he thought there was fraud in the last election that would warrant the need for more restrictive voting laws, he said,
No. My office monitors elections, and we monitor them for voter fraud, among other things. It is not any significant issue in the city of Philadelphia at all. All this talk is nothing but that. It's just talk. What we have to do is make it easier for people to vote. We have to have more mail-in voting. We have to have more early voting. And what we see when we do that is people become re-engaged. They elect the leadership they want, and they hold them accountable. I think these bills are 100% an assault on the right to vote. I think the bottom line is somebody's looking for the minority party to rule. I mean, the fact is this is a country that is increasingly voting Democratic. Younger voters are voting Democratic, or they're voting progressive anyway, and people in power know the only way to hang on is to disqualify their votes. This is a full-on assault on democracy.
The Philadelphia Inquirer quoted a Governor Wolf spokesman calling the bill an extremist proposal meant to undermine trust in elections and make voting more difficult. Wolf told reporters in Philadelphia that he's open to any legislation that increases access to voting, but he warned, if it's a voter suppression bill, I'll veto it. The activist I interviewed had this advice for Philadelphians regarding this attempt at voter suppression.
Absolutely. First and foremost, we need to get this information to the people on the ground. We need to get all of the information of the bills and what the Republican Party is trying to do to our marginalized communities, to the people who are most affected by the problem.
If you're just starting to learn about voter suppression, start talking with your neighbors, start talking with your family, start talking with your faith community. Make it an issue that other people have to talk about. And make it an issue that matters for people. And always remember that voting is one part of living in a democracy and being a part of a community, but it's not the only part. You can express your voice through protest, through organizing, through advocacy, and we need all of these ways in order to actually have a society that works for everybody.
Have a cup of coffee, wake up, because they are trying to steal your rights, and there's no way in the world people should be allowed to steal Philadelphians' voting rights. These are our sacred rights. This is the city where this came from.
This is Connie Komm for PhillyCAM Voices.